Hey guys, welcome back to Tamiya Legends, and once again, thank you for stopping by. Please hit that subscribe button and notification button for our weekly content. It'd be much appreciated, thank you. So in this video, it's part one of the Tamiya Vanquish. What a car. Don't know what we're going to find underneath when we start looking at it. It needs basic TLC and it needs a full check over, and just basically we'll go from there. One thing straight off the bat we know what's wrong with it is the centre diff. We know the front and back diffs are awesome. It's got a standard 540 motor fitted, but it's the centre diff's turning instead of driving the front wheels down the drive shaft. So we need to get into that and have a look at what's going on. Fingers crossed it's nothing major. Everything else seems okay. There's a few bolts and nuts to change here, and we've got to try get these springs tidied up and cleaned up because it's got some surface rust on, which I'm hoping is going to scrub off a little bit, but we won't know until we try. So let's get cracking on this. First things first, let's get the body, wing, wheels, shocks off of it. I'm going to leave the motor in because I need that to have that drive there while I'm looking at the diffs. What we'll do before we do a centre diff, we'll whiz it over and we'll take the diff covers off front and back, and we'll have a look at that gearing, and we'll just have a general look. Pretty sure they're going to be fine. We'll bang that together and then we'll have a play with the centre diff. Right, good news is gearboxes front and back look fine. There's no nasty pieces of plastic in there. All the gears are greased up. All seems pretty smooth. Don't need to touch the diffs because they're fine. So that's good. So what I'll do is we'll bang the covers back on. I'll just put a little bit more grease in just because I like to do that. I'll put some more grease in, we'll put the covers on. And then we'll figure out how we get into that centre diff. Right, the covers are back on. First interesting thing I found, if you can see how this has all been chipped away. When I took the 3 screws out, I really couldn't get into this cover. And someone else had said on the group that it's the wrong cover. That I have no clue about. But the only problem was, on this edge of the cover here, it wasn't deburred properly. So it had a little bit of tough plastic sticking out, which was wedging in. So you had to absolutely force it with a screwdriver to get it out. So I just got the craft knife out and just took the edge off of it. It's an absolute perfect fit. Anyway, just thought I'd share that with you. So we need to get into this section now. So I'm going to have to take the wing mount off, and then that'll allow me to get into these 3 screws here, and then there's a 4th screw here, which will allow us to take that off. And then after that, I don't know what I'm doing, so let's have a look. So that's the cover off, and this is the centre diff unit here. But to get to this, you need to remove some other stuff. I believe that this, hold the camera different, this slides out, as you can see there. But in order to do that, you have to remove all the parts. So I've had to remove the screws from this chassis plate, disconnect the steering, and then that comes off, which allows us to get into there. So obviously this will lift out now all the way, and then so I'm going to go get a cloth and we'll clean it off and figure out what's going on with it. Right, so the centre diff unit is that. I'll just whiz that bearing off. So you have a small Allen key screw head in there. As you can see, I'm turning the diff. Yeah, I guess that diff's moving too freely. So obviously you would think you just need to nip that up, but I've tried that. I've put, that's solid, which is a bit of a problem. So I guess that means we're going to have to take it apart and see what's going on inside. Right, let's take it apart. So I had the diff apart. I completely stripped it down, and it looked fine. So then I had to figure out how it went back together, because it's got those clutch washers which have got the they can only go a certain way around. So I jumped onto TamiyaBase.com and just had a look at that page on the manual. Excuse me. So I built it back up. I packed it as well with this thick grease, which I've got. It's not really thick, but it's thicker than the Tamiya stuff. So I did all the plates individually and what have you. But then I actually discovered what the problem was. On the final stage, when you're just about to put the bow spindles together, it has two clutch plates. I don't know if the kind of small washers. It's not the ones with the indentations in, they're just flat washers, but you need them to compress, and I haven't got any washers that'll fit over the actual spindle, unfortunately. So anyway, I've rebuilt it because I wanted to see if the grease would make a difference. And I'll just stick that back on so the gears don't pop out. So I'll just put these little hex adapters on, lift it up. It now turns the drive shaft and the front wheels. Now the issue is, obviously I don't have these parts, and the issue is how long will it drive the front for? It's way better than it was, but I would imagine as the grease starts to wear, then as you're putting power into it, it's probably going to deliver less and less drive to the drive shaft, powering the front wheels. But there's not a great deal I can do about that. I'll have a look around, see if there's any people with these parts. I mean, it's a standard washer, maybe not standard, but if you can find the right washer with the outer and inner correct diameters, then that would do the job as well. So that's a little bit unfortunate. There is other bodges I could do just to pack it in so I can get it tighter, but I don't really want to do that. I think we'll just bat on now. We'll seal this back up, and we'll get on with the rest of the car. It's not the end of the world if I have to get that diff back out to do something different with it. And who knows, it might be okay. We're not going to know until we actually drive it. Right, let's crack on. Right guys, I went back into the rear diff and I packed it out with, I used 2 bits of one of these. So it's a complete bodge, but it's, as I say, it doesn't spin on these. This just gives it the ability to tighten the screw up to pack it a little bit better. So I've done that, and that's now working fine. Unfortunately now I've had the car in bits. I've made my mind up that I'm not going to run this. I'm not going to put the radio gear in it. It's very old and I can see from the plastics it's very brittle. I've seen little cracks appearing here and there, and if I run this thing I know that something will break and it's just not worth the risk. I've also found it's got a little plate here that's missing, so it bolts down onto those 2 screws and that 3rd screw. Now this little plate gives this added strength to this strut here, so right now this is just on that 1 screw on this chassis, but it should be strengthened across there as well. So I'm not going to take the risk, so we're just going to clean it up best we can. We'll fit the new tyres on and we'll get the suspension sorted out. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these 2 bodges off. I don't know why they're on it, I've no idea. Yeah, I have no idea. Everything's loose. It kind of looks like he's done it on purpose to keep it so there's a little bit of play in there. That's the only thing I can assume. He wanted a little bit of play on the shock towers, because I know these are brittle and these can snap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these bodges. They're on a circlip. Remove them and fit them with some new nuts and bolts that I've got that are the correct size, and then we'll tighten this unit up. So let's do that next. Right, so I've removed these parts. What a contraption that was. And obviously now fitted it with these 2 new nuts and bolts and tightened it all up. So that shock tower is now correct to how it should be, once you bolt it down solid. So that kind of looks as far as I can go with this car now. I'm not running it. So I think now we'll concentrate on getting the shocks cleaned up best we can, and then we'll get the shocks back on the car, and then we'll get the tyres, the old tyres off the wheels, clean these wheels up, get the new shoes fitted, and then we'll go from there. Shocks are back on and cleaned up. They look pretty good, to be honest. They're all nice and smooth now. Rears are on. So that's that chassis basically done. Right, let's sort the wheels and tyres out next. Right, that's her all back together, new tyres on, shell's all cleaned up. I gave the driver a little bit more detail with the black outline, top and bottom of his helmet, so that looks better. Shocks have come up nice and clean. They're not perfect, but we're okay. As I said, I've cleaned the body up best I can. So all that's left to do now is the tyre writing, which will really make this car pop. It's the same tyres as the Avanti has, where the writing's sort of raised up, so it's quite tricky and it's very time consuming to do, but if you take your time and you get it right, it really does make this car pop. So let's get cracking with that. Right, just before I start doing the tyre writing, I just thought I'd show you what we use. So I use this oil-based Sharpie white paint pen. Extra fine point, very important. If you're going to do it, you get the extra fine. It just gives you that control you need. And it is what it says it is. It's a paint pen, so you need to shake it really well before you start. Make sure the paint's flowing on the nib before you go near the tyres. And just take your time. Right, they're done. I think I'm getting too old to be doing this tyre writing job. The old eyes are struggling. Again, it's one of these things, they look absolutely awesome from a distance, and actually not that far of a distance, but I need to let them dry, and I'll just try to show you like a mistake. So you see that there, that eye, it's just got a little bit of overlap. So once that's dry, I just get a craft knife and take that off. There's not too many mistakes on these. But anyway, yeah, we'll get it sorted out. So we'll let it dry and then we'll scratch that off. And she's done. As I say, it does tend to pop a bit when you do the tyre writing on these buggies. Looks pretty sweet, to be honest. It's all cleaned up now. She looks pretty good. That diff's nice as well, the centre diff. I know I've bodged it, but I'm not running it, so it'll be fine. So beauty for the shelf. And she's done. It's a shame I'm not going to run her, but I 100% know we would break something if we did. It was only 2-3 days ago I ran the 88 Avanti, and that looked pretty solid. But again, one of the plastics gave way with very little force, to be honest. I've seen little hairline cracks in little bits of plastic here. We know that plate's missing, which strengthens that rear suspension. So it's just not worth taking the risk, and who knows what else could go wrong. So the fact that it looks so good, I'm not that bothered that we're not going to run it, because this is perfect for the shelf now. It's not shelf queen, but it's not far off, and as I say, everything's pretty smooth on it. We've got that diff sorted out now, the centre diff, so it's good. Suspension's come up a treat. In fact, everything's come up a treat, so it is what it is. We got 2 videos out of it, fixing it up, so that's good enough for me. So thank you for watching, it's much appreciated. If you are new to this channel, if you could please consider liking and subscribing to support us on our weekly videos, that'd be awesome. And as always guys, happy RCing.